It's 11. You ready? Are you ready?
How are you, Ty? Good.
Okay. Welcome to the regular scheduled commission meeting. It's on 12/19/22. It's 11 a.m. We're in the commission chambers. I'd like to welcome everybody out and ask you if you'd turn your phones off or put them on silent if you would, please. We will start out with the prayer from Sherry Bolton and the pledge from Dana Brown. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item would be the approval of the December 12th, 2022 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 12th, 2022.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next would be have the report of the warrants and review of counter-signature certified list of claims.
Okay, Commissioners, we have warrants from December 16th, 2022, in the amount of $894,800.33. There's a couple on here. We had the insurance to Cigna for $320,285.06, and we also made payments on the Conference Center and Western Park Phase 4 to the state of Utah, and $195,000 even for the total. That's both payments on that one. And these were not created, modified, or deleted. We have one list of claim to Kunzler, Bean, and Adamson, check number 383467. Two invoices there for $39,630.05 and $25,380. And that's the only claim I have this time.
What are those for?
Legal fees. Invoice was submitted to John Sturmer.
Okay.
Kunzler, Bean, and Adamson.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize counter-signature on the certified list of claims as presented.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
I have no cemetery certificates
None
today
today?
or tax matters.
Or tax matters. Anybody else have tax matters? Okay. Business licenses.
Good morning, Gabby Hawks Blackburn with Community Development. We have two today, and they're both commercial with the same conditions. Would you like to hear them together?
They're the same.
Perfect. The first one is Integrated Well SVC. It's located at 5259 South, 5400 East, parcel number 659-142. This is in the I-1 zone. This is like a oil field. They have an office in there. They also have like a overwork rig and cementing equipment. So they do their office work there and also store their equipment. And then the second one is CJ's Diesel Performance, located at 562 East, 300 South, parcel number 541-119. This is also in the I-1 zone, and this is, it's like semi-truck and trailer repair. They work on the vehicles. They don't actually do the trucking though, I think. So these are both in the industrial zone, so they're permitted uses in this zone. We've had the fire marshal, Tri-County Health, and the building inspector out to look at all of these, and they seem good to go. So we recommend approval of both of these with the condition that they follow all fire, health, and building rules and requirements, and that they follow all Uintah County zoning rules and requirements.
And the first one was integrated well.
SVC.
F.
S,
S.
and then VC.
C, okay, and the other one was CJC.
CJ's.
CJ's, yeah. Diesel performance.
Just CJ's.
Just diesel. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the integrated well, SDC, and CJ diesel performance as presented to go along with all rules and regulations that have been required of them that's been set out.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is the bid opening and possible award of a total compensation analysis consulting services. Oh, okay. Next would be the construction approval for Western Park Ice Rink and Amphitheater.
Good morning, Commissioners. We did get some bid, we got a bid back from BHI for the amphitheater and also the ice rink addition, and to make that more up to date on what's going on down there.
Is it a bid or?
It's
just a
actually an
cost
estimate,
analysis?
cost estimate. Just to go to familiarize everybody with this, we hired Uintah Engineering to draw us up some plans and also help us with planning of how to make the amphitheater up to date, and also to the addition to the ice rink, more locker rooms, a party room for the and room that also would be working with the amphitheater in the summer, so that they could both use it. And they came and helped us a bunch. They also gave us a estimating company called Construction Control Corporation, and they gave us prices, like cost estimates for today's prices for doing this project, or these two projects. And their price came back with the total, so we don't go through all these different numbers. They came back as an estimate of $11,877,766. Was the estimate for the work to be done from this company. So we went ahead and put out an RFP, and BHI sent in a proposal, and they were the only ones that actually sent in the proposal. We accepted them as a contractor to help us do a cost estimate or a build assist estimate. We gave them the go ahead and for $10,000 to give us a complete cost estimate for what it would really cost compared to this comparison, because we thought this was really high. So they got back with us Friday night. We got our amphitheater cost estimate done. So for the Western Park addition, it's the West Addition, East Addition, remodel, and then, contingencies and overhead costs and supervision. It is $4,514,834.80. And then for the amphitheater remodel, they came back at $3,322,308.10, which brings that to a total of $7,837,742.90. So what I'm doing today is I want to give you guys these bids that we got, or these proposals, and we have the new amphitheater design development plan. I'd like to give these to you and to let everyone know that we're trying to get Western Park 30 years newer and also help the ice rink to keep up with the demand that it has. They had 500 or 600 people there for a game the other night, and we're ready to actually have the referees have a locker room and have extra locker rooms, and actually locker rooms with vents in them, and actually enough seating and heat, maybe. So we've been working on that. So today, commissioners, I'd like to present to you guys these bids that we got this week, and then maybe we can award it next week, but I want you to have time to see if we've got the budget there to do this. I know we have some budget set aside for it, but we'd sure like to do the whole project. There's also different things in the budget you can look at. There's an east edition, a west edition. There's stuff we can do in the amphitheater and stuff we could leave out. But if we wanted to go for another 30 years, think about what that cost breakdown is over 30 years if we pay it now versus 10 years from now. So that's what I have today. Questions?
Oh, you have copies of all that for us?
Yeah, and I'll hand this over to you.
Okay.
Does that work?
No, thank you for your time. Thanks all of you for the time you put into that.
Anything else, Tracy? No. We're good? Okay. Oh, and I'm Jess from Uintah County Facilities.
Thank you, Jess. Predator control contract.
Good morning, Jenny Bird, Purchasing and Grants. This is the annual renewal for the predator control contract. It comes from the State of Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, and the contract amount is $8,400 for 2023. And as part of that contract, the state will reimburse us $4,200, and then the other $4,200 comes from local landowners. So it's nothing's changed from last year. I sent the contract to John. He's reviewed it, says it looks good. So I'm just presenting that for signatures, but they do want an e-signature on that. So I can, if you approve, I'll get with you after the meeting.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, just to make sure that, I'm a beneficiary of this predator control, and just so it's noted that I mentioned that. I don't think it's a problem for me to vote on it, but the small part that I do have play in it, but I do own livestock.
Okay. Sounds good. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the predator control contract annual renewal in the amount of $8,400 with $4,200 from the state and $4,200 from local collection.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Museum Collection Preservation Grant.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm asking for authorization of electronic signature on a grant from the state of Utah for the Heritage Museum. The amount is $5,000. This is to purchase materials and prepare collections for better storage, things that they have in storage to bring them up to museum standards. The amount again is $5,000 to be spent in 2023. There is no required match on this, and I believe that this is state dollars as opposed to federal dollars.
Okay. Any questions?
I just want to credit Lana Fulbright and her team. Lana and her team have been involved in some collections training throughout the last year, working on preservation skills and things, and sort of as graduating that program, they've made the museum eligible to receive these funds.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lana.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that for the Museum Collection Preservation Grant for the Heritage Museum for the amount of $5,000 that we approve and accept this with appropriate signatures.
Okay. Have a
Second.
motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you,
Thanks, Sam.
Commissioners.
Appreciate it. Weed Control Cooperative Agreement. You guess, it's Nate.
Okay, good morning. What this is
Your
just a, what's that?
State your name for the record.
Nathan Belliston,
There you go.
Weed Control Supervisor. Anyway, okay, so what this is just a continuing contract for weed control along the UDOT right-of-ways within Uintah County. We've had, over the last 5 years, a contract, and so this is just wishing to extend that contract. They have increased their funding to $10,000 per year. That will allow us to do more weed control. We've been doing each of their right-of-ways one time. This will allow us to do it at least twice, I believe. So that'll give us better weed control along those highways. And so this will go until June 30th of 2027. So,
Okay. Any questions?
I'm sorry, Nate, this is with UDOT,
UDOT.
Okay.
and it's 10,000 per year.
Per year, so we have a $50,000 contract.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the weed control cooperative agreement with Utah Department of Transportation for weed control on state right-of-ways, in the amount of $10,000 per year for a total of 5 years. I guess it begins
It's actually
July 1st, or it's in place now?
of this year, so it's already partway
Already
into
started.
it. But it won't change the way we can do
Okay.
weed control.
So the terms of July 1st, 2022 through June 30, 2027,
Correct.
including authorization of signature.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Okay. Do you have this document in? I think you do. I gave it to my secretary to hand in anyway. You have a copy of it? Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the drug court testing and software contract.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jamin Thomas, Uintah County Attorney. In an ongoing effort to bring down costs for the drug court, I'm bringing before you asking for permission to enter into a contract for some drug court software and testing. We've been trying to bring down the cost of drug court every year. Since I've been in charge of drug court, I think we've brought it down every year. I hope this year to make a significant drop. One of the reasons is we've successfully negotiated our way out of the contract for the machine, which was costing us every year where we had to buy so much. That is over now. And so we know the cost from Siemens, and it was a good machine. The problem with the Siemens machine is we didn't have the volume to support the cost. And so we know the cost of that. I'd also sought out two different, one from Intermountain Toxicology locally. There to test for them, 5-panel lab test would be $40 a test. A 10-panel lab test was $40 a test. And if we did an addition of ETG testing, that was $25 a test. The software company that I reached out to, which I believe is a sole source because I've been looking for 3 years to find one that will go with the drug court. The software costs $2,500 a year total, and it's a year-by-year contract, so it's only $2,500 a year to get the software. The great thing about that software is it would integrate with the second quote I got for the testing from DIM Software. DIM Software, they'll provide us testing cups of 530 per cup for a 14-panel urine cup that includes both ETG, which is alcohol, and fentanyl. There's a one-time setup cost of $800. So that brings down the cost of testing significantly. not only for the drug court, but it also allows those who pay through the court system. Right now, we charge $20 per test for people that are referred that aren't court appointed. This would let us cut that in half, which I believe would help us get the court and judicial system more involved in drug testing. So I believe that clearly the $5.35 a test is the better option to go. And there's no contract associated with that. It's just when you buy it. The only upfront cost is the $800. So if it doesn't work out, we're not tied in like we were with the machine, and we can quit at any time. And the software's only $2,500 a year. So I'd ask for permission to enter into both of those and hopefully continue to bring down the drug court costs. And just as a further update to the drug court, Charmaine Gohl, who we hired to help us legislatively, also has ideas we're trying to press with the drug court, and I believe that you'll see a significant reduction in the budget request next year for drug court. So with that, I'd ask for permission to enter into those two agreements. So the agreements would be, with DIMS, DIMS software.
For both,
Yes,
DIMS.
DIMS.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd go ahead and make a motion that we approve the contract with DIMS Software for the purpose of drug testing and software contract with appropriate signatures as presented by Jamin.
Okay, have a motion?
second,
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thanks for digging into that,
Thank you.
saving the money. Next is the policy 460 employee benefits.
Good morning, Tanya Craven, Human Resources. Good morning, everyone. We just have some updates with our wellness program that we wanted to make sure were in place. There are copies on the back table. And then just some housekeeping as far as just language and grammar as we went on. When I sent it out this morning or last night that came in, man, I appreciated the comments, and I'm going ahead and putting those in as well. So that's what is at the very beginning of the policy, just some changes that were submitted, and I appreciated those comments. And so that's what you'll see at the very beginning of it. There was one change in Section A where it originally stated 30 hours on a regular basis, and it was suggested that we make that change to clarify that it was 60 hours per pay period. And I think that that reads more clearly in that section, so I agreed and hope that the commission agrees as well. And then into wellness, some changes that we'd like to include in the policy going into the next year is just to state that the county will provide a wellness fair to include the various vendors, the biometric screens and flu shots, obviously for it to continue on. We would like to incentivize our team leaders. We had fallen away from having team leads over the last couple of years, and we're going to go back to reaching out into our department heads and requesting that they provide team leaders into their departments, and we'd like to be able to incentivize those team leaders by giving them gift cards each quarter. And so we just wanted to put that in as part of our policy. The other part is also acknowledging that because we provide cash incentives to the county for participants, and we also provide PTO to employees each quarter as they participate in those challenges. But in order to participate, there is a document that they're required to provide to us every year. And once you select that, you're opting into that as your full year. We've had a problem with people wanting to either change those elections or those funneling in throughout the year. So in order to keep our administrative needs down so we can focus on the things that we need to, we've just put it into policy, a timeline where those can be submitted, or you're just opt right into just the PTO process, which had always been the process in the past. We did put in the $100 I believe last year or the year before. So that was an additional option that the employees were able to have. So that's the other update into the wellness portion of the policy. Do you have any questions?
Didn't our insurance company give us a little money towards that too, didn't they, or did they?
Yes, Cigna gives us $20,000, but the $20,000 can only be used to incentivize for the cards, the gift cards, and for prizes. It's not, we can't use that to give the $100 out. That's why the county provides us additional funding to incentivize that. So that's where the county meets us and provides that additional funding.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else?
Nope, I think that's good. Well, let's wait. There was we did need to clarify at the end. This had come up, I almost forgot, a few commission meetings ago, whether we wanted this language in under the 401k 457. There was the line where it says the county determines an optional percentage and it may contribute to each employee's account. It was discussed and then asked to be brought back. I didn't know if I had left that in, if we wanted to maintain that, because it does have the language of the optional and as part of the language in that portion, or if the commission wanted to rule on that. We like to utilize that 401k was originally the optional as a recruiting tool. So I would like to be able to make sure that that's, if possible, to maintain that in our policy.
Can leave that up to you, Brad.
That's fine.
It's fine.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay. So with that, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the proposed or the changes presented to the county policy 460 employee benefits as presented by Tanya.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, the 2023 Special Service District allocations. You doing this?
I am. Mr. Chairman, the special service districts are supposed to get their budgets put together before now. They usually try and come in at the end of November. So we start having the discussions, especially as we see how mineral lease money has come in. And this year, we had to make a change during the middle of the year, particularly for healthcare. So as the year rolled through, each of the commissioners that's on a board has spoken with that board. And based on what the estimate coming in this year would be and hoping to see into next year, what I have gathered from all of the discussions is that we're going to stick with the specific numbers so that these, especially the smaller districts, have the ability to count on what's going to be there, as opposed to a percentage that may or may not come. And as we found out in 18, 19, 20, sometimes there wasn't enough to run them on those percentages. So for the Fire Special Service District, the amount would be $2 million. For the Animal Control Special Service District Control and Shelter, $1 million. And for Uintah Health Special Service District, $2 million. And then SSD number 1 would receive the remainder.
Okay. Comment? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we go ahead and approve the Special Service District allocations as presented. Health would be $2 million, animal would be $1 million, fire would be $2 million for the allocations for 2023.
And the rest goes
The
to?
remainder.
The rest goes to SSD number 1.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Mr. Chair, if I can just, so the minutes are up to date. So SSD number 1 held a meeting last week where they took their action pursuant to statute to change their name. It's now officially Uintah Special Service District 1. No, so add Uintah, drop the number sign. So Ty, if you, just so it's reflected in
Uintah
the minute.
Special District.
Uintah Special Service District 1 is the official name now.
Okay.
Okay, John, I missed that meeting, but my question is, I have to notify the state. Will they recognize that name yet, or will I still have to
We've
give it?
been in contact, when I say we, it's the transition team, has been in contact with the Lieutenant Governor's office and other state agencies to make sure that they're aware of the name change. So we should be fine there.
Okay, then that's how we'll send it.
Okay. Good. Okay, next is the ordinance 12/19/2022-01, setting the commission meeting schedule for 2023.
Commissioners, Ty prepared this last week and sent it out to everybody. Staying on the same schedule, we have to adopt a meeting schedule for next year with staying with Mondays at 11 a.m. We didn't hear anything back, so we assume so we have prepared the ordinance to adopt that as the meeting schedule for next year.
Yeah, I'm good with that. John, you good with that? All right.
I thought 9 p.m. on Tuesday evening was the best.
Yeah, I thought you guys wanted to do some evening meetings so the public could show up.
Let me make the motion.
There you go, Brad.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Y'all me too after a mouth
Yep.
off? Okay. I'd make a recommendation that we approve the ordinance number 12/19/2022-01, setting the commission meeting schedule for 2023 to be at Mondays at 11 a.m.
Okay,
That got everything we need in it?
Second.
so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
I just found a date change on this. We'll get you a clean one.
Okay. All right. Ordinance number 12/19/2022-02, amending Title 03, Revenue and Finance, Chapter 3.30, County Fee Schedule in Uintah County Code.
So, Mr. Chair, I can take this up to tell you what the proposed changes are, and then as we've done in the past, if there's any specific questions on the office or department that's requesting a change, then, you can ask them to provide some additional comments. So, with that, Karina took the lead on this and sent out the proposed fee schedule and gathered emails back from various offices and departments. So let me just run down through it, and if anybody's in the audience, if this isn't reflective, if something else needs to be in there, let me know, because I'm just scrolling through about a 17-page document. So the first one that I have that I noticed as red line is coming out of the recorder's office fee schedule under miscellaneous fees and it has a new line for copies mailed or emailed, minimum charge $10. Then going down to, let me just find the next one. Into, I believe this is Western Park fee schedule. On the outdoor arena number 1, regular day rates would be increased from $250 to $400 per day. It looks like there's a range there, so the minimum would be $275, so a $25 increase there. And then equestrian going from $17.50 to $27.50. Amphitheater day rate from $275 to $500, an hourly rate from $27.50 to $50. I'm scrolling down again. Okay, and then for Buckskin Hills on their fee schedule, if you are non-exclusive group rentals 2-hour block, The amount for 1 to 25 people is going, or proposed to go from $200 to $250. And those are the changes that I'm showing. So unless there's another department or office that has something different, I think that is the end of my part of the presentation.
Okay. Is there anything in your offices that need change that you know of? Come up to the mic if.
Melanie Silcox, Western Park. The arena, you said that the outdoor arena?
It's under outdoor arena number 1. Was that putting the wrong one?
So it should be $27.50 an hour. It says that it's 17 or something, but it should be $27.50.
Yeah.
And that should be $275 at a day rate, not 4.
Here. Hold on a second. Let me come down to you. So this is what we're showing. Outdoor arena number 1, regular day rate, so that one's correct.
270, yes.
Okay, and then questioning, $17.50 to $27.50 per hour.
That's 2 up to that. Okay.
So is that,
Yes, 275.
so is that correct? then?
Yes.
Okay, all right, perfect.
So we good?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Seeing nobody else, John, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve ordinance 12-19-2022-02, amending Title III Revenue and Finance, Chapter 3.30 County Fee Schedule in the Uintah County Code as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Non-compliant building structure.
All right, good morning, Matt Kazir with Uintah County, or with the Community Development Department. Plug that in so I can start warming up for the next items here. But so the first item is non-compliant building or structure. We're requesting authorization to record a certificate of non-compliant building or structure at 2191 West, 3000 North, here in the Vernal area. And that is parcel number 419-172. Sorry, I just need to plug this in real quick. Okay. So commissioners, you'll remember about 2 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we made some changes to the procedure for recording these certificate of non-compliant buildings or structures. And this is one that kind of got caught in the middle. So this would be the last one that would be brought to the commission for this purpose. Just to clarify. But this building, it's an outbuilding. There's a home on the property. The property is approximately a half acre. And this outbuilding, I don't know if they were originally trying to build it as an agricultural building, but the size of the property has to be 2 acres at least to be able to fall under the state exemption from the building code for an agricultural building. And so with that, it was posted, the property was posted with a notice of violation or a red tag back in October. Looks like October 11th of this year. At that time, the owner did send an email out to Aaron in our department. For some reason, that email didn't come through or went to the junk mail or something. And so he didn't see it until we sent out the certified letter. And then the person contacted him again and asked him if he had received the email, and he went back and was able to find the email, but it was something that he had missed. But anyway, in that email, the applicant had asked for additional time to December 10th which when we found the email was past the deadline or past that request. And so at this time, I think the best way forward is just to record on this property, and then when he gets the building permit issued and gets a certificate of occupancy, then we can record a certificate of compliance on the property at that time. So that would be my recommendation.
He had sent an email back requesting December 10th to give him an extension till then.
Right,
Nothing's happened since, so. okay.
right.
Okay. So, you have any comments? Nope. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we'd go ahead and authorize requesting authorization to record a certificate of non-compliance building or structure at 2191 West, 3000 North, Vernal, serial number 419-172.
Okay,
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. All right, to the next one's ordinance 12-19-20-22-03. That one yours?
Okay, Commissioners, this is an ordinance for application for reimbursement and reimbursement agreements. This was brought to the county's attention by a developer. And he had called and asked about the county's reimbursement agreement policies and procedures. And we started looking into it because we had one in the past and had used it. But when we started looking into it, when we updated the subdivision ordinance back in 2019, I believe it's when it took effect, January of 2019, this portion of that particular chapter, or that title, I guess, Title 16, did not get moved across with the update. So the developer filled out an application to amend our subdivision code, and we took this before the Planning Commission. They held a couple of different meetings on it. I think they had a work session and then a public hearing as well. There were no comments at the public hearing that were opposed to adding this back into to our ordinance. And so what we did is we just went back to the previous ordinance and just copied it straight over. The only changes that we did make are back when the original ordinance was written, the department was called Planning, Building and Zoning. And so there were some references to that department in here that were just changed to community development. And so those are the changes that were made to what it previously was in our ordinances. And then the numbers here have changed as well since the subdivision ordinance was updated. So these numbers reflect how it would fit in our current subdivision ordinance. Basically, just to give a quick explanation of what a reimbursement agreement is on occasion, a developer or a property owner may have to install certain public improvements, say like water or sewer, for their property that cross or in some way improve somebody else's property. And so they may have to drag the sewer line past somebody else's property to get to their property. And so what this does is when those properties that would benefit from this improvement decide that they want to use the improvement that was put there by somebody else, then they pay their portion of that. And the portions are set up based on the total cost of the property, and then either a linear foot or a percentage for each property. So there's two different ways that it can be calculated. And it's calculated by our office, and receipts and payments are turned in and verified that that's what it actually cost. And then we record a statement or a notice on those properties and let the owners know that if they decide to develop their property, within a 15-year for a private investment and a 30-year for a public entity, that they would be responsible for that portion. And we let them know what the amount is in the notice. And so, and then the county would collect that money and then pass it on to the original developer. And it is the original developer's responsibility to make sure the county has current contact information for them. And if we can't track them down when we get the money, then it goes to the state unclaimed properties. The money would go to unclaimed properties in the name of the developer or individual that the agreement is with. So we have had, since this was in place the previous time, we had one developer that did use it. And it's been 12 or 13 years now, and they finally did get one property owner that reimbursed that money. So it doesn't, well, it hasn't been used in the past very often, but it is a good tool to encourage developers or property owners to make maybe a larger investment than what would just serve their property. So those are the kind of the highlights. I mean, we can go down through it as much as you want, but I think that's what I have for now.
Question on that, Matt, would be, they still have to get property owner consent to go across the, I mean, these are not forced because of the county saying, well, there's going to be an eminent domain issue or going across your property whether you like it or not, and you may get, if you decide to do something later, you may still have to pay. So this is in addition to the property owners working through a surface agreement.
Yeah, if it does cross their property. On occasion, it maybe just goes down the county road. Or on the one that has been used in the past, it was a defunct subdivision, but the right-of-ways and stuff had already been dedicated to the county. And so the developer just came in and finished out that right-of-way section with the different improvements. So the utility easements and stuff were already in place from previously. But yes, if they have to go across somebody's property, they can't just go take it. They have to work out an arrangement with them.
Okay. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Let's see, is it my turn, Mr. Chairman? I move to approve ordinance number 1219, 2022, 03, reimbursement. Let's see, amending title, nope, sorry. Got several ordinances here. Okay. Adding the requirements for reimbursement agreements in Title 16 subdivisions of Uintah County Code.
Okay.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Ordinance number 12, 16, 20, 22, 04.
Okay, Commissioners, this is just some cleanup in our ordinances. They're generally small changes that we notice throughout the year that we kind of make a note of, and then towards the end of the year, we try and clean some stuff up in the ordinances. So these are the changes that we had for this year. The first one is 17.27.030, so this is in our zoning code. Fences and walls. If you remember earlier this year, we had some discussion about this particular section. And so that's where this change came from. All of these changes have been through Planning Commission. They did hold a public hearing there, and they did recommend approval of these changes to the county commissioners, and it was a unanimous vote. So the first one here has to do with fence height, And what we had in here is we had that they couldn't build a fence in excess of 6 feet unless it was approved by the land use authority. The proposed change here is that that we allow the maximum height allowed under the International Residential Building Code without a building permit. So that currently is at 7 feet, but it has changed between 6 and 7 feet over the years. So instead of having to change our ordinance every time that changes, if we just reference that, then that will keep it current with whatever the state adopts as the building code. And then the only other changes here under B2, just adding a minimum 6 foot high, which was the intent, but not stated. And please feel free to stop with any questions, I think, that we
Mr.
have
Chair,
as we
can
go
I ask a
through.
question about that real quick?
No.
And Matt, I know we've talked about this, but I'm just going forward.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I?
Yes.
Great, thank you. I know we've probably talked about this, but my memory isn't recalling. Right now, just for example, do you know what it is right now under the building code?
Yeah, it's 7 feet right now.
Okay.
That doesn't require a building permit.
Okay, and then if somebody comes in and requests, let's say they want to go 8 feet, so they would need to get a building permit, just so it's clear for everybody, what would be the process for somebody who was seeking a higher fence?
Yeah, so this is only for residential properties, this section. So in that case, they would have to request a variance
Okay.
from the zoning code.
Okay.
And show why they need a fence taller than 7 feet.
Okay.
And
I
what
don't-
makes their property different than general properties in that same zone that they're in.
Okay. All right, that's great. It helps with my memory, but then also for everybody to understand there still is a mechanism if somebody has the need that they can prove for some other height, but, okay.
Right, I think the issue that we had was setting precedents and not really having any rules or regulations associated with approving
Yep.
a taller fence in a residential area.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, let's see here. It's gonna let me go down here. Okay, so the next section is 17.32.010, area and setback table. Again, we just noticed some minor changes here on this table. So the first one is this subscript 6 here by accessory buildings. You can see that's actually down lower, so there's no reason to have it up at the top here, so we'd be removing that. And then here under R1, sorry, I need to zoom out here just a little bit so we can see the whole thing. Under the R1 zone, we do have some rules with attached units, which would be 2 individual single-family homes that are attached at the property line, but each side can be owned independently from each other by different people. So it's not a duplex, but it's some people refer to it as a twin home. But we're just clarifying that it's 70 feet for each of the lots would have to be 70 feet, not 70 feet for both lots. And then the next change comes here under MG1, mining and grazing. This is under the accessory building. Setbacks for that zone, and instead of being 0, we would propose that they be 5 feet, or under this number 6 actually allows them to go down to 3 feet if they want to fire rate anything that's closer than 5 feet. The reason for this change is having a 0 setback can be problematic for dumping water or snow onto other people's property, and also for maintenance of the building. If you have a 0 setback, the property owner, if you don't have an easement or something, could close that property off to you, and you wouldn't be able to get on that side of your building to maintain it on the outside. So having some kind of a setback seems to be a better situation in certain areas, not in all areas. You can see in the commercial and industrial zones, they can have a 0 setback. But in the MG1 and RFM, that would be proposed to be a 5-foot setback with the option to go to 3 feet if it's behind the main building, which is what that number 6 says. And sorry, I guess that's all MG1, RFM, and the ASP, which is the Ashley Springs Protection Zone, for those changes. And then the other changes are here in the RFM zone. There was some old language that got copied over here that says 30 feet from the road right-of-way. That we propose to change that. In a lot of these areas, the road right-of-way is variable and sometimes hard to find. The RFM zone is recreation, forestry, and mining. It's up on Diamond Mountain and in some of our more rural areas. And so instead of having to trying to define or determine where that right-of-way line is, it's a lot easier to either go from the center of the road or the back of curb. There's not currently any curb in any of these areas, but in the future there could be. So most of the time we're going to be going from the center of the road, and that's a lot easier to find. You just take the disturbed part of the road or the asphalted part of the road, and you find the center of that, and that's where you pull your measurement from. It's easier for both the owner and our inspectors that go out and will inspect the setbacks. And so, and it's actually a little bit of comes in at a little bit lesser setback than the 30 feet from the right-of-way generally. Okay, the next one is under section 17.33.020, number 30, temporary uses and structures. And then it's under section C here. So section C is mainly dealing with things like triathlons or marathons or different running events, swap meets, trade shows, outdoor races and events, things like that, things of that nature. These temporary uses can't exceed 30 days in a calendar year. But what we've run into is, on occasion, there are people that would like to have an event like every weekend or several times a month throughout the whole year. And that didn't really seem temporary if they're doing it that often. And so to help just define the 30 days, we just request to add this sentence in at the end. If the temporary use is 2 or more days within a 30-day period, the days in between when the event may be closed shall be counted. And that goes along with the same language down here under D. They count the days in between the event. And so it would keep the two similar, and the days would be counted the same with that. So if they can do, several days and space them out, but if they're within that 30-day period, then they would count the days in between as well. And then I think we're down to the last change here, and this is under our subdivision ordinance, so it's in 16.13.030, lot line adjustment within a recorded subdivision. When there's a lot line adjustment within a recorded subdivision, they have to do an amended subdivision plat, and that plat gets recorded. And the county surveyor kind of brought this to my attention that it would really be good if he had a chance to review those plats and sign them. He has been reviewing them for us just to make sure everything's good, but having his signature on there would be an option that he would like. And I think it's in the best interest of the county and the public That way he can just make sure that everything with anything that has to do with the actual survey itself is correct. There's a lot of times legal descriptions and different things on there that he's familiar with and can review. And so the change would be to add a signature block to those plats for the county surveyor. And then just to clean up in the language that didn't make sense there under B2. And I think that is the last change there.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ordinance number 04, cleaning up and clearing up sections in Title 16 and Title 17 of the Uintah County Code. These changes are dealing with fences, walls, setbacks, temporary use, and lot line adjustments.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Let's see, the next one is the Community Development Block Grant, first public hearing.
Jenny Bird, Purchasing and Grants. So this is a requirement of the Community Development Block Grant. If we intend to apply, we have to hold a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to notify citizens with information about the Community Development Block Grant Program and to allow for input and discussion of possible applications for the 2023 funding cycle. So I have a list of eligible or possible eligible projects that I need to read, and then after I go through this, if anyone in the public wants to, I guess, express an idea, we can discuss it, and I'll just take note of that.
Okay.
And then we'll have to get with UBAG to discuss eligibility, and then we'll discuss with the commission what we want to apply for.
Okay.
So there's approximately $243,000 of competitive funds allocated to the Uintah Basin region for this grant. Possible projects that are eligible under the CDBG program are acquisition of real property, acquisition and construction of public works, code enforcement, demolition, removal of architectural barriers, provision of public services, required matching funds, relocation payments, planning activities, administration of federal programs, housing assistance, economic development, and housing activities. The community development funding must be used for activities that will meet the national objective of benefiting low and moderate income individuals. In addition to low and moderate income, there are two other ways to meet the national objective. They are the prevention or elimination of slum or blight and urgent health and welfare. If any proposed community development project results in the displacement of low or moderate income individuals, then provisions will be made to assist in the funding for new housing. So that's all I have. If anyone wants to make any comments about ideas for possible applications.
Okay, so we need to open a public hearing. Open it up to the public. If anybody wants to come up, state your name and give us your ideas.
Pam Clinch, I want to understand this. So you have $243,000 that has to be spent, could be spent, eligible people apply for it. I don't get it.
Okay. So this is an annual grant that we have. There's $243,000 available, but it's competitive. So that's for the entire Uintah Basin region. So that includes Daggett, Manila, Duchesne City, Duchesne County, Uintah County, Vernal City. And so that's eligible for, we can apply for it. It doesn't mean we're gonna get it. But every year this opens up and the amount changes. It's always about $250. I mean, it has been in the last few years, but we have to apply for it. This is not guaranteed money at all. But it has to be for the projects that I listed, and the qualification is that it benefits low to moderate income individuals in the community.
So the county dreams that up? Like, we want to apply for this specific area, like, or can individual people come and say to them, I
That-
have this,
That's what this meeting's
okay,
for.
that's what I'm thinking you're saying. Okay, but then, like, an individual person can apply to you, or does it have to come through the government application?
Government
Right,
application.
through you, okay. Okay, well, that just seems like a great deal and a lot of money, and slum and blight, that sounds terrible, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Sam Passy, vernal resident. I think it'd be great if the county or Association of Governments, someone can use some of these funds to continue to address homelessness and people who find themselves temporarily unhoused, some of that emergency type response. Thank you.
How much of this money Quinn taken?
What?
Nothing. Any other ideas, comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. So is that what you need on this?
Yeah, that's all I need.
We don't need any motions or anything on this
Nope.
because it's just the first one.
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. Next, we have a public hearing for elected officials' salary increase. Wanna- okay.
Okay, Tanya Craven, Human Resources. So today I was provided some numbers to present. Sorry, oh, it went over here? Okay, thank you, Matt. So I've put them into a spreadsheet so that they're available. We have our attorney's office where we have a maintenance plan that was prepared. And so part of this public hearing is to address the increase for our attorney. I've been trying to reach Officer Labrum, our sheriff, obviously, regarding what that would look like for him. These are showing the elected officials' current rates, the highest paid staff after proposed increases for those employees, and the dollar difference between the employee and the current elected official, and then what that percentage looks like as well. So that's what I have for you because like I said, I just received the information today that was, as far as other than the attorney's office. I still haven't heard back from Sheriff Labrum to know what the requested amount was for his office as well. Oh, yeah, sorry. I was hoping to have the sheriff's information as well today. I don't know if you, commission has had opportunity to discuss with him. There are a couple of employees where it is stating proposed increase that I believe I'm hoping that those employees' proposed increase may be a bit higher, but for right now, I know that we've just discussed a specific increase, and that's what these amounts are based off of. Other than the attorney's office, because that's already been approved.
So commissioners, with now the presentation, we need to have a public hearing on it. And then once all comments that want to be received are received, then the body
Yeah.
can then deliberate.
I
Or
just-
if you have any preliminary questions right now, but.
No, I just was making sure on a couple of these before I opened it up to public comment, so I knew where I was sitting.
Okay.
So, do you have anything else, Tanya?
No, like I said, these are basically the numbers of it. That's all that I really have. I don't,
Okay.
do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Do you? Okay, I'll open it up for public hearing.
Wendy Long, Uintah County Treasurer. I guess I don't understand this table. It appears to me, as I'm reading it, that the elected official salary is staying the same, and the proposed increase is to the highest staff member in the office. Is that correct?
That's
I don't understand.
we're working on, it's some of the numbers that we were waiting for is why we don't have the budget ready for this week. Is we're working on what the increases are gonna be for the staff.
But I don't understand this table. Is this
This
table
table is with-
increasing a staff member, or is this table increasing the elected official?
It increased the attorney's office, and then it's showing where we're at right now on the staff. And what that does for us, compare what it does to the elected official to help us answer the questions.
So what is the percentage then?
That's
that
the
you have on
percentage difference, say,
Percentage
in the
difference
clerk's
between?
office, there's 12%, 12.87, or 39% difference between if we do the proposed increase to the employees, between the highest member in his office compared to what he is making.
Compared to what the elected official is making?
Yes.
So this table does not show an increase to the elected official. It's just showing a proposed increase to the highest paid staff member, and then what that percentage of the difference is.
Yes.
So it's only showing an increase to the employee in that office, but it's also showing an increase to the attorney. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can provide some.
Please do.
Just some context in the attorney's office. So when we went through the wage maintenance plan, going from external evidence that we could find from both public and private sector, and then setting what those wages need to be under a wage maintenance plan, the proposal for our office is that under the attorney's office, the county attorney make 10% more than staff below. But because it's a 4-year term and that amount needs to be, it can be adjusted at any time as far as going up. But under the wage maintenance plan, what we have proposed is that the county attorney office be given basically an average of those 4 years under a wage maintenance plan. So right now it is a little bit higher. It's at about 15% higher than the next level of pay. But our proposal is that holds steady for the next 4-year term. So by the time you go through a wage maintenance plan with performance evaluations and things needing to be above average performance for employees to get an increase, that by the time you get to the end of the 4 years, the county attorney actually would be only making about around 7% more than the next highest employee. So then the commission in 4 years could then reevaluate the county attorney's salary and decide whether or not they need to bump it up. Maybe everything has become stagnant at that point in the market. So we've only looked out about 4 to 5 years under our wage maintenance plan. But that gives some context on why that one is showing 15%, when all other differences between category of employment in the county attorney's office is at 10%.
Okay.
The other thing too, just so there's context, the way that this was noticed up was for all elected officials, because we were made aware that there have been continuing conversations in the sheriff's office because of wide changes and swings in law enforcement compensation across the basin, both for local and state employees. So we wanted to make sure that was captured, and then also realizing that in the tentative budget, there was a proposal of a COLA increase, and so wanting to make sure that we just noticed it up for all elected officials so that then we could have this discussion and not have to do another one, you know, in a week or two, if that was going to be part of the budget for next year.
Okay. John,
Ready?
it's yours.
John Larson, Commissioner-elect. I have a couple concerns. Number one is dealing specifically, from what John just said, the attorney's office. It's not telling me what the other employees or different agencies of the departments are going to get for an increase. Are they going to get a 15% pay raise? I'm concerned about that. Our cost of living in the last 7 years, which according to the majority of the people I've talked to, that's when the last pay raise was, has gone up 22.69%, which is a heck of a lot more than what you're showing up there. And thirdly, I'm kind of concerned on why we're all of a sudden ramrodding this through. And I say I'm ramrodding it through, you're in the last week. We've got to have the budget to the state by the first day of the month, next month. And is this something that can't be tabled until the new commissioners can get in and have a say in it? I don't think it's quite fair to the rest of the employees to say that I don't work for the attorney's office, so I can't get my 15% pay raise. I think that's a little unfair, and that's, from what I understand, John just said it, I believe that's what it's going to say. Is it in the budget? Is it in the proposed budget? My figures, no, it's not. Just based on, Mike, I might be wrong, 9% benefits, average? Okay. Okay, I thought they were, but my terrible math came up that way. So I'd like to see this table, gentlemen, until we can get the new herd in there and look at it. County Attorney, you're here in the office, or you're here in the meeting. What's your feelings on this, if I may ask?
We proposed it as part of our plan. It's always been part of my proposed budget.
Can you come up to the mic?
You can use this one, it's all right. Be close.
We proposed it as part of our wage maintenance plan, and it's always been a part of my proposed budget. So no surprises on what I've asked the commission for, and I don't understand that's what it's always been proposed.
John, can I ask you a question? Did you say that there hasn't been any increases for 7 years?
That's what I was told, with the exception of that $1 an hour raise that was given not too long ago.
Okay.
Now, that's information I've got from other people. I'm not saying that's fact. I'm just saying that's what I was told. Okay.
You know, it's, yeah, you ought to maybe come over and we can show you across the board what the increases have been. They've been different.
So-
We've taken on different departments, and we're doing, that's one of the main reasons that we don't have the budget ready yet, is we have been talking to departments, different department heads have came in. We're looking at some that a regular increase doesn't get them up to market value of where the market is right now, and then some it will. And so we've been going through this with different department heads, looking at different ones, and we'll have that ready by next week.
Okay, and my last question would be projected budgets. Are we going to have enough to pay people?
Plenty.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, in the tentative budget, that pay plan was included, and so were also a lot other pay plans that was presented by the HR director was included in the budget. And I believe that the other elected officials also included something in there for themselves, not for themselves, but for that position to be reflected. But I'm sure it's going to go on deaf ears, so.
Actually, Mike, I'd just tell you this, we've been looking at all of them as Tanya has pulled comparables of Class 4 counties and Class 3 counties. We have looked at all of them, and we are looking at them. And comparable across the state of what are we, a 4 now, Class 4? What clerks, commissioners, treasurers, recorders, everybody is making. And the two that we were upside down in, we addressed last year. One was the sheriff and one is the attorney's office.
I know I come up every week, but looking at this graph.
Could you state your name,
is
please?
Tammy Meekum, Uintah County resident. Is the attorney's office, and your line item says elected officials salary increase. You have like 5 to 7 elected officials. Is the attorney's office the only one getting a pay increase?
That's the only one that's been proposed up here, yes.
But your line item says elected officials salary increase.
Yeah,
So we
so,
could talk, so
With
we could
an
talk
S,
about them.
mind
I
you.
take that, Mr. Chair.
go
So
ahead.
Tammy, just as I was explaining earlier, we knew because of the wage maintenance plan that was approved that we needed to address the county attorney's salary. We also knew, because it could have been noticed up, just like it was last April with the sheriff, there was a public hearing that was held for a salary increase of the Uintah County Sheriff. It could have been specifically mentioned just Uintah County Attorney's Office. But because my office was aware of continuing talks regarding the sheriff, because they continue to be outpaced by other law enforcement agencies, local and state, and that there was in the proposed budget a COLA increase that has been proposed, I advised that the agenda say all elected officials so we could have one public hearing instead of having to have one for the attorney's office, maybe a week later have one for the sheriff's office, and then, or a couple of the county other elected officials. It made more sense to just have one public hearing to address the possibility of all elected officials receiving some
And
type
as a
of an
concerned
increase.
citizen, I disagree with that because I've asked you guys tons of times to put on your agenda what you're talking about. And to me, this is, again, it should have said salary increase for Uintah County's attorney's office and salary increase for the sheriff's office.
But if we did that, with all due respect, the commission then could not hear any public hearings about COLA increases that may be needed for the other elected officials, so they would have been left out to dry during this public hearing. This was drafted to make sure that all elected officials could hopefully have that discussion regarding what has been their salary over the past
Well, I think
number of
this
years.
should
So
be tabled.
this was a benefit to all elected officials. I apologize that it's coming off as a negative, but it's drafted in a way so that we can address all elected officials.
I actually think this should be tabled because you should show a graph of when the last time the county treasurer's office got a raise, the recorder's office got a raise, the commission office got a raise, and I do know that the sheriff's office, I'm not saying you don't deserve the raise. I think police are underpaid. They're they're underpaid. Who wants to be a police officer? And I'm sure, John, you're underpaid, but I think you should show a better graph of when the last time the treasurer's office got a raise, the clerk's office got a raise. And I do agree with Mr. Larson. I think this should be tabled until the first of the year.
Tell me if, can't they put it on their own agenda?
Wendy Long, Treasurer. I just wanted to make one more comment after Mr. Thomas's comment about it being presented in his budget. Just wanted to point out that I also requested increases for my staff in my budget, and those are not reflective on this. As a matter of fact, my office, as you can see clearly by that graph, is the lowest one of all of them up there. The largest span between my office staff member, my senior deputy, and myself. So I just wanted it noted that the other elected officials also requested those salary increases for their staff members, not just Mr. Thomas's in the attorney's office.
Wendy, we have till next. Would you come over and talk to me about that one? Because I thought that was, come and visit with me, please.
Okay.
Tiffany Dolfelmeyer, and I just want to say I was here in April when you guys did the budget increase for the sheriff. And I'm not saying that people don't deserve increases, because they do. This economy is horrible. But I am saying if you guys are going to give the sheriff a budget increase and his pay raise based on Summit County, every one of these elected officials, including the commissioners, should be getting the same salary increases based on the same counties she did for the sheriff's department. All the staff should be getting it based on those counties. That's why you needed a comparison county. And if Summit County's it, okay, let's do it, but make it equal for everyone. Not just the attorney's office, not just the sheriff's office, but for everyone in this county.
Brenda McDonald, Uintah County Recorder. When I presented my budget, I did a study. Tanya can tell you I contacted fourth-class counties. I did a comparable with them. I also included Summit because you did this spring for the Sheriff's Department. But I don't care about that. Fourth-class counties, we are still lower paid than they are. San Pete County, look at what they're making in the recorder's office. They put us to shame. So does Duchesne.
Elected officials?
I did a study on my employees.
Okay, but
They're
this
my
is for,
biggest concern right now.
and
And I put in my budget for me one too.
And we're addressing
Prices are the
the
same for
employees.
me.
What we're talking about today is the elected officials. And
Well, I
my-
can tell
my
you,
point
they
is-
do make more than we do. But that wasn't my concern when I did the study.
You have a study showing elected
I
officials
did on the
in fourth-class
recorder's
counties
office.
that the elected officials are paid more than we are.
Recorder's office, benefits and pay, what they totaled. Yes.
Do you have that?
So I presented that in my budget.
Can I ask what fourth-class counties you looked at?
Oh, I think about 5 different counties. I'd have to look at my list to be sure to tell you which ones. Also, you talk about the raises. I have one employee that has received that $1 since 2014.
15.
That is the only raise she has received. Because when I went to you guys about that, Bill's comment was, well, that's a specialty. It doesn't matter if it's a specialty. Prices go up for them too. And cost of living.
I agree.
I have one person, 2 people. I don't know how they live. Well, one lives at home, thank goodness. But the other one struggles to live with this economy. And she's still stuck at that $260, which you have given other county employees a variance away from that, but not mine.
Tanya can explain to you how that's happened, and you're welcome to do the same as the other offices have.
I did come to you about that, and I was denied. Tanya even presented the paperwork.
Any other comments? Do you have a comment?
Didn't know if anyone wanted to view the
Oh.
as far as the elected officials' wage plan.
Sam Passy, will be official, Uintah County Library. I want to stand for a minute and just thank everyone that has went the rounds on this. Many departments have sat together with HR, with the IT director, and looked at resources and comparables, looked at balance sheets, trying to find the right mix. While we may disagree on what that right mix is, I want to thank the current commission and elected officials and HR director for being open to engaging in a process, regardless of what the outcome may be. Striking that balance between being fiscally responsible to our employees, it's a challenge on the best of situations. We've kind of been on a roller coaster over a few years. We've gone through some lean times. We haven't had to have layoffs where some other companies did, and we made it through. We're in a different time period right now. But I just want to thank those that have worked on this and are continuing to discuss it and will continue to discuss it. And like anything else, the first go-around isn't going to be right. There's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some things that were missed. But thank you, everyone, for your time and consideration, even if we disagree on outcomes.
I have a question. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I have a question. Can we do, on the resolution, can we do the attorney's office, because it's been addressed already and we've looked at it? I would like to take some comparables of other Class 4 counties, of the elected officials. I would like to see what they're making all across the board.
Okay.
That's what this compensation analysis was supposed to do.
Mhm.
We have taken it, we didn't think we was going to get it in time, and that's why we've had a lot of department heads come in with their analysis. And
Right.
we've been working on those, and that's, like I said, that's part of why the budget's not completed yet. I looked at other counties' elected officials' wages, and maybe I've looked at the wrong ones. I'd like to look at them. So my question is, John, I guess the question is can we do this for the attorney today? Are we able to look at the rest of them? And we're going to have a special meeting to approve the budget. I already gave you the agenda for that meeting. Can we look at the other ones, and if there's a change that needs to be made, can we address it at that time?
Yeah, so right now
Public hearing being-
it's satisfying the statutory requirement to have a public hearing before there's an increase to an elected official's salary. If you're looking at the possibility of, and Jamin may throw a pin at me or he may just not, it seems like
Taking a
if
beating.
the commission is still considering making increases to other elected officials, it'd be nice if we just have one resolution that covers that. So do we table this resolution for one more week, knowing that under the adopted wage maintenance plan, there does need to be something done to Jamin's salary, but just adopting one resolution to, and if I can take a moment to address questions that John Larson brought up. If the new commission coming in wants to look at other increases, there's nothing that prohibits them from doing that in the future as well. You just can't lower the salary of an elected official during their term. So the new commission coming in early January, if they feel like the increase wasn't enough or sufficient, there's nothing that prohibits them from being able to also take that up and address it again a second time. So to answer your question, Mr. Chair, yes, you can. Or you can table it and postpone it till next week. Those are kind of your options. Or kill it altogether, right? I mean, it's up for
Jamin's
commission
is
action.
yeah, I guess.
I'm just being thorough in my analysis. There are other options, but the wage maintenance plan does take in consideration that increase to the county attorney. So, but
So this,
The legal technical answer is you have three options right now.
have you looked at other?
No, I wasn't, we've just done this with the sheriff and the attorney's office, and I think with the comparisons locally and stuff that we'd come in with both of these, we were, boy, we could justify it. You know, I think we've addressed that with each office as they've come in, and maybe we've overlooked some or overlooked some. But I think we've been very adamant about being very square with looking across what's paid in the community. You know, we are not supposed to be the highest paid entity in Uintah County. I'm not saying we are, but I think we've been very thorough with going through this stuff and looking at it. And there's a lot of comparisons that we use and do. You put out a job application, we don't get people coming in to apply for a job at $15 an hour. Hey, we must not be paying enough. There's a lot of things you can take into account that we do, and so I think we've thoroughly tried to address this, and it's always good to be open and more conversation about this stuff all the time, but and I think we've done that.
I think with the staff as a whole, we are on a good path forward with what we've been talking about. But as I've said multiple times, I would like to see a plan for the staff as a whole, as opposed to individual plans that we seem to be compartmentalizing for department by department, as opposed to a blanket plan that includes the staff overall. It makes it a little easier to facilitate that, as opposed to just picking out this department and that department. I understand looking at each department and each employee when it comes to merit or responsibility increases and things like that, but to having a path forward for the county employees as a whole would be appreciated.
Well, there's a market adjustment that needs to happen. I mean, that's what we've been looking at. The market is different than it was just a year ago.
Yeah.
So.
And I appreciate what's being considered, so I'm hopeful that we can move forward.
Did Tiffany leave?
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Well, she seemed to think, she must have did some evaluations on what other elected officials, I'd like to ask her if she's looked at.
Oh.
That's what I was,
don't know.
just which ones they'd looked at.
Done.
If you're going to look at elected officials' salaries, you still have to look at Utah code. And I know this is old and it presents a little bit of a problem because I think they used to do it two different ways. And the only reason I pulled it up is because we did change class. And the change of class effect on salaries is Utah Code 171617. If the taxable value of any existing county has been reduced below or raised above the class and rank, first assume the county legislative body shall designate the class to which the county has been reduced or raised, and the county is in that class, and the salaries shall be adjusted before January 1st. Now, this is old because right now you don't look and see where a county class is defined by money. But this county must have been using that at some point in time because we have the values of the county as we were a class 3, and I believe we became a class 3 in 2010. We might have been a 4 before that, but with the boom, we went to a class 3, and the assessed values were going up until the year 2015, and so the salaries went up. So it didn't have anything to do with the class. It had to do with within the class of county, we were a growing county. We were making more money, and so the salaries went up. Doesn't mean that all class 4 counties get the same amount. It's how your county is trending, how it's growing. But starting in 2016, we lost about $1 billion. And by 2021, we were down $2 billion in value. So some of these other counties that you're wanting to compare to, if their value is going up, Summit County, some of these others, I can see why their money is going up, but we're managing a county, and in 2015, that was the height, that was the last time that the that the general across the board was granted. Since then, our measures have been decreasing. So I think the legislature would be well advised to take a look at this law. It's from '93. And do something, again, they're tying it to something that doesn't really exist anymore, but it's certainly instructive, and it's how we got to where we are. So if you're saying that we need to keep going, even though the county is becoming smaller in value, we need to keep giving raises, I guess I'm trying to figure out how that reconciles against the law itself. But that being said, that is how I would be looking at these comparable Class 4 counties. If you're looking at a county that's increasing in value, growing and getting more complex, getting larger but still within its same class, then fine. Go ahead and make the raise. But if we're $1,400,000, almost, yeah, $1.5 billion over where we were in 2015, the last time the elected officials got a raise across the board. I am a much bigger fan of looking at the employees and the elected officials based on the complexity of the position and the knowledge required by the position. Quite frankly, we have a lot of very minimum wage type jobs at the county. And just because you work at the county doesn't mean you should be entitled to a wage that a comparable person in the open market should be getting. So as far as that's concerned, I'm willing to talk about it, but I think we need to look at some of these other Class 4 counties and see if they're growing, shrinking, or what. What have they been doing with their salaries? But for the life of me, I just don't understand why this county wants to divorce itself from its community. And if the community's not growing, why is county government growing? And if county citizens are not gaining, why is county gaining? A couple of very, very misleading things that I've heard as well. There's been no increase since 2015, not 14. Since 2015, the average salary in the county's gone up 13%. The number of employees has gone down, but the payroll is the same. Therefore, people are being paid more money. May not be you, may not be everybody, but that is a fact. It's indisputable. The other side of that is CPIW that we all look at in terms of what is the raise is coming. There's 8 components of that. I'd like to know how many people even know what the 8 are and if anybody is actually affected by all of those. You have to be going to school, your entertainment goes up, your clothing goes up, some is base, but almost nobody's experiencing the 8.7%. Doesn't mean there's not an adjustment due, but that's what the individual adjustments by employee class is all about. So we deviated from that. I don't mind looking at the elected officials closer, but I think we ought to look at some of these other things and not just say, well, it's been this long, so what? When we lost all the value, why didn't we lose any salary? If we were gaining salary because of value, well, we just don't do it in reverse. Okay, got it.
Tanya, do you remember, I know Summit was one of the many that we looked at on the sheriff. We looked at Beaver, we looked at some others. Do you have that list of which ones we looked at the time?
Yeah, I have the list from last year. I don't have the list from I emailed and have asked what their comparables were for this year. I haven't seen that yet.
And John,
But I do have the list.
how many did we look at on the attorneys Do you remember how many counties?
The exact number I don't remember. It was probably around 8, but that was emailed to.
Can you get me those 8 counties we looked at?
It's in the spread. I can send it again, but it was in the spreadsheet that I sent the commission, HR, Mark, and the clerk auditor's office. But I can send it again if you need it.
Okay.
Oh, you also used locally too, didn't you? Do a little checking on locally for your employees?
Yeah, the biggest benchmark that we pulled from was Duchesne County, and then also job postings from the Utah Attorney General's office for vernal jobs. So that's where we looked at that, and then we did a comparison on, it was, I don't know, 6 to 8 counties to see how far off that may have been. But and then we also looked at the private sector with bids that were sent out from our special service districts for attorney jobs, and those bids were coming in at about $250 an hour or higher. So that gave us at least a pulse on what was happening with local law firms and how much they were charging for government agency work. But looking at this, let me just voice a little bit of my own personal opinion on the salaries. I mean, there obviously is a lot of analysis that goes into it. And I understand what Commissioner Stringer is saying about COLA. I think everybody agrees, though, everybody has been hit by inflation. I think the debate is to what extent. If we do look at these salaries, even including the proposed increase to the county attorney, if you go into any mid-level corporation or a corporation that has the same amount of employees and does similar work, their financial CFOs are not going to be paid the amount that our auditor is made or makes. Their treasurer, same amount. Of course, assessor and recorder, there isn't really a comparable in business. There's some that you can pull in. I guess the point that I'm making is if you look at top leadership of mid-level corporations or higher that have similar number of employees and responsibilities, our elected official salaries are not tracking what those mid-level executives are making. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And I don't think all the elected officials in here can tell me they're not in the job to be rich, right? But just to have something that is comparable to what other mid-level or large corporations are making and their executives. We wouldn't even want to look at those numbers because that's a heck of a lot more money than what's being proposed here. So those are just my 2 cents just overall.
I'm trying to find the spreadsheet that John had sent, just because it has that information on it, but I'm not able, it's not showing him up in my shared drive, but yeah, there were a couple of counties that were on there, and then Duchesne was the main comparable that was used with one of their attorneys.
Yeah, I got it. So it was, in addition to Duchesne County, we looked at Box Elder, Carbon, Cache, Iron, Sanpete, Summit, Tooele, Wasatch. So for us, our hiring pool goes regional, if not mid or the western United States when we are. In fact, our last new hire was local, but we were pulling from the Midwest to incentivize him to come out here. So that was part of it too. So it is going to be different. I know, Matt, you don't have to say anything, but just as an example, we've talked and you asked me which comparable counties, and we had a little bit of discussion. Does that work for what's happening in community development with your hiring pools as opposed to the county attorney's office? We're essentially, we've pulled attorneys from St. George. Washington County wasn't even part of this analysis, but that's where our second to last hiring came from, was Washington County. And we've had to pull from the Las Vegas market, Salt Lake market, and out into, like I said, into the Midwest. So even your comparable counties fluctuate depending on which jobs you're talking about. But just for example, those are the counties we looked at.
Right. And with the spreadsheet that I proposed, we had anywhere from 12 to 13 different counties just to pull as a whole to look at. And then give an average salary. Trying to find Brenda's, because I know that it has specific.
I don't see a problem doing I understand doing one resolution, but I don't see a problem doing this one if this public hearing works for our special meeting for next week, so we can look at other elected officials this week and compare them and put it on that agenda. But you know, I don't make motions, so I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to make a motion or not.
Bart, just because you had asked earlier for Brenda, the comparables that we had were San Pete, Sevier, Tooele, Duchesne, Summit, and Box Elder. Those were the 4 main counties that we utilized when we did the comparables.
For the elected official?
On this one, I have the employees,
No.
but at that time, that's the main one that I was working on. I know that she has comparables
We're
for,
working on the employee stuff, so
right, so, but
it's the
she'll have
elected
the
officials that.
others. So, anyway.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open it up for a motion.
Oh, sorry, Barbara.
Hey, you missed the public hearing.
Hey, I didn't hear you say it was closed.
I did.
He did.
But you
Oh, you
can
did?
say what you'd like.
I just have a question. So, Bill, when you speak of value, our values are down. Are you referring to the values that I set?
Yes, I think that's what this is. You can tell me if you look at it. It's the one that we show the tax rate, and we show the year, the assessed value, the tax rate, taxes assessed, county bond amount, MBA, cash general fund. Look familiar?
Mm-hmm. Can I look at it? So our values are down from, are you comparing from back when we had the raise, basically in
Yes.
2015?
What I'm looking at, what I didn't have, what I could have done, I've done it once by going back to 2000 and tracking the salaries up. I've got all that data, submitted it once before, showed how it went, and that's where we got these outrageous increases. And that was a time when the county, within its class, was growing well. So there is at least a rationale for why you're doing that. At least you were in compliance with the law. But then when we hit 2015, that was the height of our assessed value, I believe. That was the last year that there was a raise. So that's where the elected officials rode that large assessed value. And I do know that big amount came in new growth, in 2008 or 9, maybe?
Yeah, we were higher than a lot of.
So, anyway, but this, this is the highest that I think we've ever been, was the 5,978, 365, 346. But last year in 2021, we were down 3,975,000. So we were actually 2 billion less in 21 than we were in 15. But we did rebound. We picked up about 600 million in 22. Good sign for a class 4 county, great. And I think if it continues to go in that direction, you would be at least logically advised to consider, because now you're growing again. But boy, when you can take a beating and not take a loss, and all those people that John's talking about, if that happened to them, they wouldn't have a job today, or they certainly wouldn't be getting paid what they are. Not that you should compare private industry to government, but didn't have no adverse effect to the management of the county with the loss of $2 billion.
So with our values increasing, and if they continue that, then you would see, well, you're still looking at raise.
The way that Mr. Bramble looks at it, as soon as we get back to 5978, 5,799,978,
That
you can start
benchmark?
having, that would be the benchmark.
We'll never get to that.
Well, don't be negative, be positive.
Well,
But
that
anyway,
benchmark was set.
all I want to do is consider all the facts. This knee-jerk shoot from the hip, well, everybody needs this and everybody needs that. So why?
Because you have inflation and cost of living, of course, for people.
You do, but if you're being paid well above what maybe you were due, takes a while for inflation to catch you, and it didn't really start until 2021. It was 1.2% per year from 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Well, say I'm willing to look at everything, and I'll look at them. You know, people must be watching on YouTube some, because I've received a few texts. The average commissioner wage, and I'm going to talk about the commissioners because as of right now, that's what we are. The average commissioner salary in Utah is $80,758. The highest is 109 in your Class 1 counties. We're at 94.
They're councilmen, commissioners. There's 7 councilmen making that $100,000. They're part-time.
With 2 million people.
But the lowest for Class 1, like the lowest is 69,647. We have I had another fourth class county recorder text me. Ours makes 10,000 more than them. So I'm willing to look at it all. I'll take the same comparisons that we looked at the others. I'll look at them. So I would like the ability to if there's some adjustments that need made, I'd like to be able to look at that next on the meeting as we do the budget. But me personally, I'd like to see the one that we're working on taken care of. But we can do it on one or not.
Just one last comment. So I had come in to talk to you, and you guys were still in looking at that. I would like to come in and visit with you.
Come on down. Today. Be good.
15 minutes.
Okay, so I will put it up if somebody wants to make a motion, great. If not, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion to approve resolution number 1219-2022 R1 for the elected official salary increase specifically for the county attorney.
Okay.
Second it.
So the motion will need to state the actual amount. It comes out to $140,545.60. And then I need an effective date.
So do we break that down between dollars and
Well, the resolution just sets the salary, and then that then gets divided by the 2080 to then set the hourly rate.
okay. So I amend the motion to include the amount and can you wake the screen up again? So we're looking at the right, same thing.
And then one other, sorry, Commissioner Stringer, I'm messing with your motion. If then the motion could be to no action on the others, that would allow us to then have this discussion next week.
All
Or
right.
if it's
So how
denied,
about I withdraw
then we
and start
probably need to
over?
have another public hearing.
I withdraw my motion then.
I'll
So I
second.
can start over. All right. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the resolution number 2022 R1 elected official salary, specifically with respect to the attorney's office and for the county attorney, the rate would be $67.57 per hour, with the remainder of the elected officials to be considered between, or at a later date. Did you want us, if we're aiming for next week, do you want me to say next week? Or just say at a later date?
Did we come up with a day? I haven't talked to Mike about it yet. Okay. It'll either be on the 27th or the 29th.
At a later date.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make it clarified, though, you know, as
Do we
me
have a date,
personally
an
as a county
effective date?
commissioner, I signed up to do the job for what we're being paid, and I really don't, you know, personally, for me, is all I can speak for is don't think it's correct that I try to get a raise midterm.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of it.
Okay. Okay.
Did we get the effective date in there?
Oh,
Is it the effective date as of today, or is it as of?
Effective today,
Today.
days passed.
Okay.
Well, is a resolution, does it have a 15-day? That's just an ordinance, so it's
Those are
effective
ordinances,
today.
resolutions can take effect immediately.
Somebody have that resolution we can sign?
Okay,
I have a resolution right here.
thank you.
Okay. Mike, is this, do you want to go through the resolution first and then we'll have the public hearing?
Yes, I'd like to present it first.
Okay.
That way they have at least an idea what we're
Yeah,
discussing.
it's listed as the public hearing first.
Yeah. Commissioners, in reviewing the budget last week, and before that, I had advertised a budget increase for today. In doing a final review before the end of the year, I found 3 budgets that need to be adjusted. Justice Court needs $150,000 in it. It's already over budget. The surveyor needs $9,750. He received a grant that was never included in his budget. And Public Health Fund 21 right now is in a negative cash balance. And by code, it cannot be in a negative cash balance. And I've estimated $92,500 needs to be transferred from the general to the Public Health Department. Revenues for this is Justice Court fines of $150,000, the grant of $97,550, with use of fund balance of the $92,750. And that's the resolution 1219. That's all of it. And you did receive a copy of it with the backup with all the information explaining that.
And tell me again, there's the surveyor, correct?
Surveyor,
He's going up how much?
$9,750. He received an AGRC grant that was never adjusted in his budget. And the revenue has came in on that one. And he has full anticipation of spending it if he hasn't already actually spent it, just hasn't requested reimbursement yet.
And then the other one was the Justice Court?
Justice Court, they're already over budget right now by a certain, I can't remember, I actually have it right here, I think. Justice Court is already over budget by $38,000, and I anticipate additional billings coming from Vernal City, at least for the 4th quarter, and I'm anticipating $150,000 there. It may or may not cover that.
Are we not getting our fines from Justice Court? Are they not sending them over?
We are now getting them.
We are now getting them?
Right. There was a confusion in the agreement, but as Carl's went through it, he came back that they should be giving us their fine, all of our fines, and then billing us back for 50% of them, and that's what this is. Okay. Billing us back for the 50% of the fines.
So that they've paid us the money to be able to pay them?
They have.
Okay. But they hadn't been?
They hadn't been, but I'm pretty sure it all came in now.
So, just clarifying, I'm looking at this. So the ones that made it go over, the invoices.
Were ones that just paid last week.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, I felt like that would the invoice be issued or a PO made to pay these without the money being there?
From Vernal City's invoice, I don't know if they received a PO on that or not. Once it received, I just sent you guys the invoice on that one. And the surveyor, he has a budget of the 60,000 plus his 9750 of his grant, and he very seldom gets a PO. He just submits. He keeps track of what his budget is, and submits the invoices and keeps tracking where he's at on it.
Okay. I just. Court share. I guess for my side, and it doesn't really matter, but it just, if an invoice comes over or a PO comes over with your signature or with Zeke's, we feel like that the money has been verified, that it's there before the PO or the invoice has been brought to us.
Zeke Allard, Purchasing and Grants Director. Currently right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, the way it's always been set up is that an invoice can be paid into the negative, but a PO cannot be created into the negative. So we found that out this week, and so I talked to IT, and they were working on getting that set up so an invoice cannot be paid into the negative. The way it's set up right now and the way it's been set up is we cannot create a PO unless there's money in there, but an invoice can be paid into the negative the way it is right now.
Okay. That answers that. Okay. Is that all, Mike?
Yes.
Entertain a motion.
We need to have the public
yeah,
hearing.
Oh, forgot,
Yes.
forgot, sorry. Have a public hearing on this budget increase. I'd open that up to the public if they have anything they'd like to. You're not the public, Wayne.
You're not the public.
This is Quinn's fault to begin with.
Quinn Benyon, City Manager of Vernal City. I want to talk about the municipal court item. I wouldn't want anyone to leave this room thinking somehow that was a negative decision. I want to completely, share the positives that have occurred since we've combined our justice courts. You remember a year and a half ago, we went through a lot of discussions and a lot of pain to combine our courts. That has proven to be an excellent decision on both parts. We were both subsidizing our courts roughly between 120 to 150,000 a year. We combined those, and now from July to June, the county court revenue was 318,000. Again, I say July to June because that's our fiscal year, with expenses of 268. So a positive of 50,000. So I just want to make clear that this is a good thing. I don't want anyone to walk away thinking, oh, the court needs more budget. That's because at the time your budget was set a year ago, we had only been combined for 6 months, and we also were going through a transition with our finance director. And so I believe we put like 150, and it is come out to be more in the 300 to 250 range. So just want to make sure everyone's clear on that.
Great. Thanks for the update.
It was that, Mike, just maybe comment. Justice Court was 150.
Right,
The
increasing it
surveyor
by
was
150.
9,000.
$9,750 was the grant that he received from AGRC.
What was the other one?
$92,500 for public health. It'll go to the Fund 21. Several years ago, the property taxes was reduced there, and there's not enough tax revenue coming in to pay our contribution to the Tri-County Health Department. And it had a negative cash balance last December, which was not, I did not catch it, didn't go through this process, but I went through it this process. And so it was in the whole last year. I don't know if I wrote that down exactly, but I'm hoping it was like 30,000 something was negative cash last year, and I'm with the refunds that we've done this year. I'm hoping that the 92.5 will cover it.
Was last year the first year we went with they changed the amount every year? don't they?
Correct.
Okay. So they assess by per capita,
Correct.
and they change it every year. So we're taking our best guess at the beginning of the year. Okay.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd
Got to
like to.
close the public
Oh,
hearing
geez.
first.
I wanted to get this meeting closed. Anybody else have anything they'd like to comment on? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Now I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the resolution 12/19/2022 R2 2022 budget increase that Mike Wilkins has prepared. It was the Justice Court for $150, Surveyor for $97.50 for a grant that he received. I want to say good work on that there. Public Health for $92.5.
Correct.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Board appointments.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. We have several, all but one of them come out of my groups. For the Uintah County Heritage Museum Board, we have 2 vacancies. They're both 3-year vacancies. And one of them is Christine Cooper. The other is Roxanne Batty, and they're both would serve terms starting January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025. Move to appoint.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
We have one for the cemetery, Mazer Cemetery Board. Paul McCoy had passed away, and so we have, looking to appoint Kaylin Holmes for a 4-year term, beginning January 1st, 2023 through 12/31/2026.
Okay.
That's a motion.
We have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
And then we have one last, a single appointment for, did you cover that up? And this is for a alternate position on the Planning Commission. And we had 2 applicants there. And this is a term, 3-year term, January 1st, 2023 to December 25th December 31st, 2025. And I'm nominating, or I'm making the motion to appoint Clayton Thacker to that position.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Any other board appointments?
That was it.
Okay, we come to the public comment time. We've had public comment for hearings, but if you have anything else you'd like to say?
I have a question, but I just have a comment about all this employee raising salary stuff. It's just been really in an upheaval because of there's been a lot of employees that took the package and insurance and quit, and then new hires were put in at a lower rate, but then some people were hired at a super not lower rate. There have been a lot of employees, not a lot, several that have been the last couple of years that have a really rate of salary that was surprising to a lot of people for their experience and the job, and where other people were being hired as people quit at a lower rate. So I can see why there's just kind of it feels discombobulated when you kind of compare that. That's just my comment. about that, because it really has seemed inequitable. And a lot of appointed people have received some raises, just got a raise. So I appreciate you thinking this through again and looking this again. But I just remember over time, the last couple of years, I felt that way about that. So I just want to say that. But my question is, the claim on legal fees, we just kind of went right over that. It's almost $40,000 for one and $25,000 plus for another one. Do we know what those were for? The legal fees that we have a claim on. Because we just gave our legal guy a raise to do our legal stuff. So we were paying a lot of money here
We
for
pay
some
a
legal
lot of
fees.
money in legal fees.
So do we know what that one's for?
Yeah, it's for an ongoing investigation that's required by statute.
But you can't say because it's ongoing investigation.
An ongoing investigation.
Okay.
That's required by statute.
Okay, well, it just seemed like, hello, there it is, and nobody really had an answer, but we have an answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
I like sitting here, but I'm ready to go. So anybody else have anything that they want to say? Okay. We'll close the public comment. Have anything? You have anything?
Not today.
Okay,
I make the motion, we adjourn.
we're adjourned.